What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given here with your afternoon snap, and today we're going to take a look at the last 5 games that I played before hitting Galactic rank this season in Marvel Snap, and we are kicking things off with one of the greatest comebacks that I have ever gotten to play in this game, and things start off pretty well for me. With Project Pegasus, I can just drop Galactus if I want to right on turn 2 of the game, though sometimes I like to delay Galactus, get a little bit more information, and speaking of information, we draw Kang this turn. So I'm just going to play Kang along with Black Widow just in case my opponent like Cosmos me or something, though I guess playing Black Widow into the Kang location kind of is awkward with that, but I want to leave as many other locations open. I'm playing a Galactus deck. My opponent throws down Juggernaut and Jeff the Baby Landshark to kick things off this game. So we've got a little bit of information about what they are playing, but the real reason that I played Kang on the first turn is that way I would, or on the second turn rather, is because I drew it for turn and now I'm going to get one card deeper into my deck, and now I will have a different option for this Project Pegasus turn, and I can play Electro into Absorbing Man. That's pretty cool. I mean, I could just drop Galactus, that would be cool as well, but I just added Absorbing Man into the deck, and this seemed like a pretty unique line to be able to take advantage of. So I'm just going to play Electro plus Absorbing Man both into the Stark Tower, and we'll see that now my opponent has played into that third location, and they're playing Jeff plus Storm. Kind of an interesting play there. Interesting deck. Jeff is pretty cool, and nice to see some different ways that people are making use out of him. But Project Pegasus is still open. We can't play Galactus there this turn. We only have 5 energy, but next turn we will have 6 energy, and we will be able to drop Galactus and blow up that flooded location as well as Stark Tower. So I'm going to play Black Widow, give my opponent the Widow's Bite, and then we are setting up for a Galactus takeover next turn. But unfortunately, my opponent hits me with Goose, and this just happened to be like 3 or 4 days ago in another video that I showcased where I played Electro on the Project Pegasus turn, and then my opponent hit me with a Goose, and I was unable to drop Galactus. So, lesson learned, I guess I'm done doing that. I'm playing Wave here, which will prevent my opponent from playing into the Goose location as well. So I thought that that might be cool. And then there's one specific thing that I am trying to do with this Dr. Octopus. I'm not sure if you'll figure it out exactly, but we've seen one of the cards currently in my opponent's hand, and I'm hoping that Dr. Octopus can grab my opponent's Juggernaut to kick me into the flooded location. Now, I wind up in Project Pegasus, and it's kind of cool. I'm able to dodge that Shang-Chi as well, but my opponent plays a She-Hulk. I gotta pause this. It's happening way too quick. My opponent plays a She-Hulk in Project Pegasus, so my lead there with Doc Ock isn't looking great. However, their play for the turn was Scarlet Witch, and just like that, we now have access to Sinister London, and my opponent does not. So it's unfortunate that I paused it right before the Scarlet Witch was able to transform the location, but either way, now we win this game. Just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'll get to play America into Sinister London, and my opponent won't be able to add as much power to the board in that Goose location. So a really, really surprising comeback for me there, but one that I was super happy to pull off. This second game was just really, really close, and it is super important that my opponent is currently playing everything into Muir Island, which is typically a pretty good strategy, especially when you don't know what your opponent is playing. Play your cards into Muir Island as early as you can, so that way you can start adding power to your board. However, I've drawn Null, which is going to make this early game power as me and my opponent continue to play into the Muir Island. It's going to make it all for me, baby. We play Wave on turn 3, and one of the cool things about this Absorbing Man build is you can play Wave turn 3, and then if you don't draw Galactus, you can just play your Absorbing Man and you Wave again. Cool little double wave. I'm going to play Kang, and I'm going to snap. Again, I can't remember if I talked about that in this video or in yesterday's video, but sometimes the Kang snap kind of gives your opponent information, so I think that this Kang snap might have been a mistake, because before my opponent sees the Kang. They've got no clue that I'm playing Galactus, and I probably just wanted to play Galactus into Xandar this turn. Now they probably know I'm a Galactus deck, and it means that they might not play Serra, which is like before I think they would have 100% played Serra or something. People are also playing less Arrow right now, so it's not something that you really have to try to play around. I was a little bit concerned about Cosmo. That can definitely come out in these Quinjet armor decks, but my opponent's just going to play Serra again, and then we get to blow up everything with Galactus. And like I said, it was super important for us that my opponent played all of their cards into Muir Island, and I did as well. Now my Null is going to contribute, or going to get up to 17 power, which is going to be basically what I need to win this game. Right now, turn 5, I don't have a great play. I don't draw Spider-Man. I could just play Black Widow. Would be fine. I'm just going to play Death, and then next turn I'm going to play Null, and I'm going to hope my opponent either doesn't have Shang-Chi or at least doesn't draw it. And I'm going to play this 13 power Death and 18 power Null, and just cross my fingers and hope that that is enough. And if we had the Kang, we could have seen if that was enough, so that's potentially another reason to hang on to Kang here. But either way, I am dropping the Null this turn for 18 power. My opponent hits Jubilee into the Infinite for 23 power, and then they play Thor for a total of 33 power, and we beat them by 1, all because we'd contributed a bunch of early power into Muir Island. Whoo-wee, that one was close. These were really, really fun games, and I was like saving all of these games and then playing really well in them and getting pretty lucky as well. And then I was just surprised that these all led into me hitting Galactic. Just fantastic ones, and this one's pretty fun as well. We've got Yondu cloning Vats on turn 1, so my opponent is going to be ripping through my deck. They snap on turn 2, and you know what? That's a little bit scary, but I think we might still have enough tools to win. We're gonna get a lot of our deck destroyed here. This is also cool to see. Yondu will now never, I would have liked that Spider-Man by the way, Yondu will now never hit America Chavez until it's your last card in your deck, but otherwise, America now starts on the bottom of your deck, and then Yondu's going to rip through those other things first. We see it grab the Spider-Man, the Null, the Electro. Maybe it didn't grab Null yet. Maybe I spoiled that. Maybe it's going to grab Null next. But this turn, we are going to wave Space Throne, not a good location, but cloning Vats. We can still drop Galactus there and then hope we can make something fun happen, but I already kind of know what is going to happen on this, and there are some other cool things we can do here yet, and you'll see that in just a second. So this is the Yondu onto Black Widow. Okay, so that first one was Null. There goes my deck. My deck is now just America, and we're going to blow up those other locations, but we don't have Spider-Man. We do have Dr. Octopus. That's still pretty cool. We'll draw America for the turn, but the other thing that's cool is because Yondu contributes to making Death cheaper, we can play a free Death this turn, and then it will return to our hand with cloning Vats, and we'll be able to play another free Death next turn. Meanwhile, we're going to Doc Ock my opponent, which might make them play an additional copy of Carnage and eat up their board. That would be pretty big, but in that case, we could Shang-Chi them or something. Either way, I'm going to snap and my opponent retreat. So fair enough, they didn't want anything to do with it, but I thought this one was fun. I mean, I'm just showcasing all the games here on my way to Galactic, but I thought this one was still pretty fun just because my opponent took away all of these potential options from me, but I still had just enough. In game number 4, one more game after this one, we start things off with Mindscape, which is always kind of a cute location because with Galactus you have the option of keeping it around or getting rid of it, which I think is fun. Though Space Throne is not going to be a location that we Galactus into, so we're going to be avoiding that one. And then our third location is Tinker's Workshop, so that's fine. We will have the choice for where we want to throw this Galactus into. And again, we'll see that we've got the ability to play a turn 3 wave, and then if we draw Galactus next turn, we'll get to play it. If we don't, we play Absorbing Man, and then we still set up the ramp for the following turn. So Absorbing Man just really, really flexible, and, well, he helped me get to Galactic. So now I am a huge fan of this card, though for this game we are just going to draw the turn 4 Galactus, and we'll be able to run that into the Tinker's Workshop easily enough. I could have just waved into the Space Throne to leave myself the options, but I felt like I was pretty assuredly going to want to just Galactus into the Tinker's Workshop. So we're going to go for that here and see what my opponent pulls out, and it's a pretty interesting ordering here because they grab a Null, and now what happens, this is really cool, is Galactus blows up locations from left to right, so it's going to blow up Wave and Deathlock, making Null bigger, which then makes my Null bigger that's in my hand. So thought that that was really cool. I will probably just Doc Ock this turn, and then we'll get to drop a big Null on the final turn, and to that, my opponent retreats. So with those 4 games, I was now just 4 cubes away from hitting Galactic this month. Shuri's Lab, not a bad location, so things are looking good to kick things off. And my opponent is going to play a Yondu, blowing up my wave here. But that's pretty good for me. If my opponent has priority in Shuri's Lab, then I should be able to win it with Shang-Chi. Our second location is going to be Bar with No Name. This deck has no ways to interact with Bar with No Name until I see Wolverine. That actually presents a really interesting opportunity. Now I can Galactus into Bar with No Name. My opponent's Wolverine will land there, and then I will actually win the game. So because of that, and because I can play Electro into Gamma Lab, I'm going to snap on this turn, and we will have a Hulk here. So things are looking pretty good. I've got a few different options, and I'll also have a 12 power Hulk. So I could even have priority, and I also have Shang-Chi to steal my opponent's Hulk. Now, my opponent, not wanting to Galactus into Bar with No Name, is forced to Electro into Shuri's Lab to keep Gamma Lab open for themselves, and they can play Galactus there, and they probably have a Shang-Chi in their hand as well. We're actually tied here, 12 to 12, so it's a tie game as far as who should get priority, and it goes to my opponent, and this actually winds up being pretty big. This is a pretty big turn 4 here, both of us with an extra energy, and both of us playing a Dr. Octopus. My Doc Ock, or my opponent's Doc Ock rather, is going to give us a Null, a Shang-Chi, so we're probably going to lose this Bar with No Name, but we do have Kang, so we're not quite done just yet here. And we also will get to see exactly what's in my opponent's hand: Death, Nimrod, and Galactus. So there's some interesting stuff going on right now, and I see those 4 cubes at the top of the screen. That's what I need right now to get to Galactic rank. So I'm thinking, and this is a really tough turn, and when you have Kang and the RNG, things are a little bit complicated. I still don't fully understand how it works. Thinking about Dr. Octopus, I can pull their stuff in, but I don't have Galactus, and I actually kind of would like my opponent to Galactus. And here's kind of what I'm thinking. If we can Spider-Man or Doc Ock into the Gamma Lab, not this turn mind you, but next turn, then that could stop my opponent's Galactus. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Bar with No Name, and I'm gonna play Shang-Chi. And now if I hang on to either my Null, my Spider-Man, or my Doc Ock, I think I've got good plays into Gamma Lab next turn. So that's what I'm going for. I wind up using my Spider-Man, Death, and Null here, and then we're just gonna pop my opponent's Dr. Octopus. So they actually still could have had the opportunity to play Galactus into Bar with No Name, but now they won't be able to because we've Spider-Man that location. Really, really weird game. But now I'm gonna Dr. Octopus. My opponent knows that I have the Dr. Octopus, but they also kind of have to play Galactus here. And it's Galactus with priority, so they will actually activate Galactus, and then we will Doc Ock them, and then we will grab their hand. And this actually means we just won, because Wolverine is gonna hop into the location, and then my opponent is going to have a Nimrod, and a death, but we've got 22 power with Hulk and Doc Ock. So my opponent isn't going to be able to Shang-Chi us or anything. They actually drew Taskmaster for the turn, so if they had drawn Shang-Chi, that would have been good, but it's just Taskmaster going to copy a 2-power Galactus, and we win my opponent. We win with 17 power lead there. Sorry, getting a little excited. I'm Galactic. So that was 4 cubes. That was just enough, as we'll see here in a second, to get me to Galactic rank 90, aka rank 95 after we grab those bonus cubes. So that was a pretty sweet one. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I will go ahead and pick up my 500 gold reward, and now I'm pretty close to hitting infinite for the season. But for today, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.